Yo, what is up, guys? Phoenix Sound here, and today Mihoyo has answered our prayers. Zhongli is getting buffed, but that is not all. We are getting a buff to Geo Resonance and Geo Shield as a whole. Geo as a class is something that Mihoyo has acknowledged has been kind of underperforming, and especially with Zhongli, who is a capstone to Geo builds, they acknowledge that it's not coming off well, and it's also not very competitive. So, what we'll talk about in this video, Zhongli is being buffed, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with the buffs. Geo Residence, so that's 2 Geo on your team, is being majorly buffed. And then finally, Geo Shields, as well as just most Geo characters and their shields are getting a new absorption pattern, which will make them useful in basically all content. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, Zhongli's been buffed, Geo Resonance has been buffed, Geo Shields have been buffed, and the meta as a whole is going to be impacted by this change. Let's get into it. So, Zhongli's been a controversial topic in the community for a while now. If you are a low investment or a player, you might not get as much out of him as other characters, and they have acknowledged this. They are really trying to change this and make Geo as a whole appealing with a full, from what it looks like, class rework, and we'll get into that as we go along. So first, let's go through Zhongli, and then we'll go into Geo Resonance and Geo Shields. So, if we look at the patch notes, so the first thing is to his passive. So his passive right now gives 33% increased damage to his ult based off his HP. Zhongli has one of the best scaling HP stats in the game. However, investing the levels is a bit expensive, and most characters don't need to be high level in order to get a lot of value. But what they're changing now is everything he does scales off HP. So, if you want your Zhongli to hit hard with your basic attacks, well, now you have a 39% or 1.39% based off max HP modifier to your basic attacks. So you can see in the GIF here, he's doing 150 to 400 damage on his basics, and then here he's doing 900, 400, like you can see there's some kind of scaling there. The second thing is now his resonance on his pillar also scales with HP by 1.9% or 90% increased resonance damage based on HP. That is pretty huge. So you can make a Geo Zhongli with HP and Geo damage, and it might actually be competitive, which is cool because one of his coolest builds is Geo MC and Zhongli, where you put a bunch of structures out and you just have them resonate to death. You can stack crit, Geo damage, and you can just go to town. So these things in general are already a good quality of life. He has really good HP scaling. He wants to build HP. Problem before was if he builds HP, he has to be a ult support, but his burst wasn't the best, so you don't want to really go fully into HP, and if you're physical damage, then you don't get anything because you have to build attack. No. Now HP is a competitive substat for him, and if you're going carry, you're still going to use press and pike, you're still going to do physical damage, you're still going to want to build attack, but now HP is not bad. If you're going Geo, that's where it gets interesting because Geo Zhongli is now much better. Because of the resonance boost, you have a lot more going on with your Geo Zhongli, and you might be able to do Geo plus HP. We'll see about that later, but like for now, Geo damage and crit would be the way to go for that. Now, so that's just his passive. That's already pretty good. His elemental skill, unchanged. For the press. For the hold, if we go down to here, the old was 250% Geo Absorption Shield based on max HP and AoE Geo damage. Sorry, those are two different things. So AoE Geo damage, and then he also gets a shield. This wasn't very good because the problem was 250% Geo Absorption. There aren't that many Geo enemies. The main thing this helped with was like Geo Slimes, which I mean, okay, but that's not really any endgame content that anyone cares about. You could just use a normal shield or a heal and it would do the same effect. So the new effect first of all, when you cast your shield, if you don't have a pillar up, and this is important, if you don't have the max number of pillars up, so if you have Constellation 1, you get 2. If you have none, you get 1. If you don't have the max yet, it'll generate a pillar while you're casting. That is huge because you now don't have to worry about like the downtime of, okay, I shield, I wait for cooldown, I put a pillar down. You now get your pillar as well as your shield at the same time. The other thing is the shield has been changed. Instead of Geo Absorption, it is now 150% physical and elemental damage. Now this is pretty huge because this means it is a good shield. It is a good shield against every damage, but it is not the best shield. This means that you can basically run this to just make your comp tanky no matter what you're against. This is a very you don't want to be the most tanky, but you want to be tanky against the most things. The physical damage as well. I don't know if there's any other shield that like gives you as great like of an effect in the current game for physical damage, which is kind of cool. How useful it'll be, we'll see later. And then they also added a quality of life down here, where he has increased in interrupt resist when he's casting his hold, which is really nice because that get cancelled. You have a long cooldown, you don't have a shield, and now your character is kind of just there. One thing that's cool about this is because of the generated pillar, you don't really lose a lot of DPS uptime. You don't have to cast E twice, and potentially you might get energy from casting the pillar, which is really cool because that means it also increases energy generation. So overall, these buffs are really nice for Zhongli. We still need to see how it impacts him, but the Geo Resonance, which we'll get into soon, and the overall HP scaling is going to really make him a threat. For one example, you now have 150% physical and elemental damage boost absorption. So in contrast, most characters with a shield have 250% for their element. So for example, Beidou has 250% against Electro. Diona, which is a common comparison, 250% against Cryo. If you are doing floor 12, Cryo Shield will do more for you than Zhongli Shield, but you can scale Zhongli Shield up, you can use it in every floor rather than just floor 12. So it's still good to flex in a unit with a shield for the floor you're doing, but now you have another answer. And this answer is a nice shield that can work in many situations. So that's Zhongli. Yeah, that's Zhongli. We'll go into one thing we'll go into is some team comps afterwards. So the next thing, Geo Resonance and the class of Geo as a whole is being reworked. So the Geo Resonance is old effect is increased attack damage, which is after all calculations increased by 15%, and interruption resistance. So this means that if you are protected by a shield or just in general, you get interruption resistance, which is nice for characters that need to just go burr, like Child go burr. The problem with this was just that it didn't do enough, and like you could get more just out of double fire. You could get most of the other classes give you more for that archetype that benefits that archetype. Whereas Geo was like a support that wasn't great at support. Now, however, we have a lot of effects on Geo Resonance. First of all, shield strength plus 15%, fantastic. You have Zhongli Shield, which is already pretty strong. You have Geo Shields, which are already pretty strong. And now they all get buffed by 15%, so that shielding playstyle is going to be great. This plus Bolide will be amazing because you're going to get a lot of shielding. Characters protected by a shield also gain 15% damage dealt, which I assume is the same as the old one. And any damage they do reduces Geo resist by 20% for 15 seconds. So this is pretty big because this means that every time any character with a shield does damage, so that's Zhongli on the field with his pillars, that's Ningguang with her attacks. Any enemy, it'll reduce their Geo resist, making Zhongli just passively with a double Geo comp do more damage, even if he's not the main carry. If he is the main carry, that's even better because now you just do 20% more damage. Not really, but you get the point. They also get the 15% damage dealt, which is nice. That modifier will help quite a bit in any comp. You're just getting a flat boost. Now, Geo Shields are changing as well. So you'll find it very familiar. Basically, any Geo Shields you pick up will have the same effect as Zhongli's. 250% Geo modifier is now removed, and now it's 150% physical and elemental absorption. What they want from this update is to make Geo a class, to make your team tanky, to make them hard to interrupt, to make them just go face. Like, you are literally trying to brute force through and tank through their hits rather than outsmart and like dodge or whatever the case may be, which is a fun playstyle, honestly. It can work really well if you have like a hyper carry like Child is the one that comes to mind for me. Like, I would want to run double Geo plus Child, give him a shield, Child go burr. Again, so 150% physical and elemental absorption works on everything, not the best against any one element, but works on every element and type of damage. Now, the impact on overall meta and team building. Geo is now an overall tank class and does a good job doing it. It adds durability to any team. It also now buffs itself if you have two in your party and one of them is your carry. Geo Shields now also offer decent protection against all forms of damage. However, it is not the best, as we talked about. Abyss 12 Diona versus Zhongli, but Zhongli will give you durability for the whole Abyss rather than Diona for ice specific. And Geo supports with Geo Resonance. This is the biggest thing, guys. Is they can be competitive with the right comps around them with these buffs. They're not just a anti-Geo when we have one Geo enemy comp anymore. They are now a aggro, if you know the term. Like, if there's an enemy that's giving you trouble or you are going to get hit no matter what, hey, throw 2 Geo in. Maybe that's a good tech in for your strategy. So, now one thing I wanted to do for fun, now that we've talked about all of this, let's go through 3 comps with Zhongli, just because, you know, he's the flavor right now. So here's one. We have Zhongli, we have Geo Traveler, we have Bennett, we have Kaya. So these units aren't too bad. Bennett should be the next banner. These 2 are free. And this would be a Geo Resonance playstyle is what I was going for. So you have Zhongli and Geo MC. They are generating structures. They are Geo resonating. Zhongli would have a lot of crit. He would have Geo damage, and they would be perma shielding. You'd have Kaya ult around Zhongli to give an element so that you can get Geo shield if you need it. Just more damage as well. Bennett is giving attack percent, which is nice. It's giving healing, so you just have an overall durable team that can kind of go face. The next one is this one. So this one is a support Zhongli with Ningguang carry. So Ningguang is your carry. You are basically using Zhongli for the resonance, for the shield, for the just for as a support. He can keep them CC'd. He can keep your team alive, who are very squishy. Lisa and Ningguang in this case. Lisa can ult onto the field, then Ningguang can go away from it, and Jingchu will add on to her attacks. Zhongli will give a bunch of durability and mean that you don't actually need as much healing, potentially. We need to test this a bit, but because they're so far away from the enemy, I have a feeling that this comp should be viable. It's just how much the shield uptime is and how much the shields can tank. Finally, one more comp. This one I went for free-to-play plus Zhongli. So, in this one, Zhongli is your carry. He is a physical damage carry. He is using Crescent Pike, and he just wants particles, so he can just go off. So you have Zhongling, who generates particles off the field. You have Fichel, does the same. They're both good at energy generation. Zhongling ult is really good with melee units. And then you have Barbara to heal because you don't have double Geo. So this comp should also be better because Zhongli's shields just by itself are better and have the 150% physical and elemental damage reduction. He also can just go onto the field. Well, he's carrying this kid, so he will be on the field. But he can just do a lot more with all of the Crescent Pike buffs, with the buff to his normal attacks, with his shield not being a strict DPS down. And this one might be a little less viable just because you would want the Geo Resonance. But I can still see this team with Bolide, Crescent Pike, maybe some HP substats in there, doing quite a bit of work. Alright guys, that's it from me. Hope you guys found this enjoyable and informational. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.